The United States is preparing for a very big winter storm. It will arrive in mid-January 2026. This storm will bring three major problems: a lot of snow, dangerous ice, and record-breaking cold temperatures. Weather experts call it a monstrous system. It will hit many parts of the country, maybe 2/3 of the United States. Tens of millions of people are in the storm's path, from the southwest to the east coast. Government officials and weather experts are giving urgent warnings. They tell everyone to get ready quickly. Families are rushing to stores. They are buying food, water, and other important supplies for their homes. They worry about electricity stopping and roads becoming unsafe when the bad weather starts. This dangerous storm is happening because of a mysterious change to something called the polar vortex. This powerful force usually holds very cold air near the North Pole, but now it has been disrupted. Many people do not know what the polar vortex is. They also wonder why it is letting such extreme cold air come so far south. The time for preparations is almost over. The storm is about to hit. Official warnings are everywhere, and families are stocking up. The big question now is the United States truly ready for this huge winter storm that is coming? The big storm was here. Cold Arctic air began its journey south on Thursday, January 22nd. This bitter air pushed across the United States. It brought very cold wind chills to the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Temperatures felt like 10 to 20 degrees below zero there. The storm covered a huge area, about 2,000 miles long. It stretched from the southern plains all the way to the northeast. Snow started falling on Friday in the southern plains. By Saturday, it reached the south and Midwest. Sunday brought snow to the east coast. Heavy snow was expected in many places. The Texas Panhandle and the Ozarks could see a foot or more of snow. Some areas in the central Appalachians and the Northeast might get up to 2 feet. Cities like Oklahoma City could get 8 to 14 inches. Little Rock, Arkansas expected 6 to 12 inches, and Amarillo, Texas, 5 to 10 inches. But more dangerous than the snow was the ice. This ice was expected to form along the southern part of the storm's path. Even a small amount, like 2/10 of an inch to half an inch, could cause big problems. Ice makes everything heavy. A thin layer of ice could add 500 pounds of weight to power lines. This extra weight can snap tree branches and bring down power lines. When power lines break, millions of homes can lose electricity. Northeastern Texas, northern Mississippi, and southwestern Tennessee were in the worst path for ice. Northern Georgia and the Carolinas also expected a lot of ice problems. Losing power in such cold weather is very risky. Very cold temperatures came with the storm. In Texas and other Gulf Coast states, it would feel like single digits or even 10 degrees below zero. Cities like Dallas could stay below freezing for more than 48 hours. Over 50 record low temperatures were possible from Sunday to Tuesday, especially in Texas and other southern states. This ice was a grid killer. With Texas right in its way, people wondered, would the state experience another terrible power blackout like the one in 2021? The danger was real, and the whole nation watched. 3. Why it is so cold. Many people wonder why the weather is so cold right now. The answer lies high above the North Pole, with something called the polar vortex. This is not a storm itself. Instead, imagine it as a huge, strong circle of wind, very high in the sky, about 10 to 30 miles up. This wind acts like a powerful, invisible fence or a large cage. Its main job is to keep very cold air locked up near the Arctic, far from most countries. Normally, this intense cold air stays put, circling over the North Pole. But sometimes something unusual happens. The air high above the North Pole suddenly gets much warmer, sometimes by many degrees. Scientists call this a sudden stratospheric warming event. When this warming happens, it makes the strong wind cage weaker. It can stretch the cage into an odd shape, or even break it into several pieces. When the polar vortex weakens or breaks apart, the freezing Arctic air can escape its usual home. This cold air then spills out and begins to travel south, much further than it usually goes. It takes about 2 weeks for these big changes high in the sky to affect the weather we feel on the ground. Right now, this process is why cold air is moving into many parts of the country. So this explains how such cold air reaches us, but there is another important question. Is the general warming of our planet making these extreme cold snaps happen more often? Some scientists believe a warmer Arctic can cause the polar vortex to behave differently, leading to more frequent breaks. Others are still studying this complex idea, looking for clearer answers. We will look at this important question later in the story. For now, the science is clear. The cold air is here, and it is largely unstoppable. It is no longer a question of if it will arrive, because it is already flowing across the continent. The big question now is what kind of damage this powerful, bitter cold will leave behind when it finally moves away from our towns and cities. 4. Old winter storms. To truly understand how bad the coming winter storm could be, we must look at past events. America has seen many big winter storms. One of the worst was the blizzard of 1888. It was the deadliest storm in American history. Over 400 people died, with 200 just in New York City. Snow fell from 10 to 58 inches deep in the Northeast, and snowdrifts reached 50 feet high. Temperatures dropped to 6 degrees Fahrenheit in New York during the storm. This showed how dangerous winter weather could become. Later, the superstorm of 1993 hit. This storm touched 26 states and parts of Canada. Between 208 and 300 people lost their lives. Some places saw up to 5 feet of snow. This storm was different because weather experts warned people 2 days before it hit. This allowed states to get ready. But the most important comparison for today is the February 2021 winter storm in Texas. That storm caused a huge problem. At least 246 people died. Many homes lost power for days because of a big blackout. Like the storm now, it happened because the polar vortex moved cold air south. Temperatures in Texas reached -2 degrees Fahrenheit. The new storm in 2026 is also from a polar vortex change. However, weather experts say the lowest temperatures in Texas might not be as cold as in 2021, perhaps around 9 to 10 degrees. Also, the freezing weather might not last as long in Texas. Still, officials emphasize the conditions will be very dangerous. This 2026 storm might be the largest winter storm in 5 years, possibly even the biggest of the whole winter season. It brings together heavy snow, much ice, and very cold air over a large area. This makes it very special. After the 2021 disaster, officials in Texas said they learned important lessons. They say they are ready now, but this 2026 storm is different. It is a unique and powerful event, mixing the worst parts of old storms. Will their new plans be enough for this new monster, or are they only prepared for the last kind of storm? 5. Will the power stay on? The power grid is very important when a big storm hits. After the bad storm in 2021, Texas made many big changes. The state wanted to make sure the lights would stay on this time. They made new rules. Power plants and lines had to be ready for cold weather. This meant they had to make their equipment able to work in freezing temperatures. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, or ERCOT, checks these changes. They have looked at thousands of power places. ERCOT said that the power grid would have enough power for everyone during this new storm. They felt good about the changes. But some energy experts are not so sure. Ed Hurst, who is an energy expert at the University of Houston, said the grid is more resilient than it was 5 years ago, yet he still worries. He said that wind turbines, which make power, could freeze in the cold. This would stop them from working. Also, Texas is a very big state.
If one part of the power grid has a problem, it can be hard to stop it from spreading. A problem in Austin could affect Dallas or Houston, for example. Ice is another big worry. Even a small amount of ice can be dangerous for power lines. Just half an inch of ice can add 500 pounds of weight to a power line. This extra weight can make lines break or trees fall on them. This causes power outages. With the very cold air coming, people could lose heat inside their homes if the power goes out. Power companies are getting ready. Encore, a big company in North Texas, has prepared its teams and equipment. They have sent extra supplies to different places. Similar preparations are happening at other power companies throughout the affected regions. The storm is here, and the ice is starting to fall. It is covering power lines and everything else. The temperatures are dropping very low. The power grid in Texas is now facing its biggest test since 2021. People are waiting, hoping the lights will stay on. Every gust of wind and every snap of a branch makes them wonder, will the power hold, or will millions be left in the freezing dark? 6. Staying safe. The extreme cold brought serious dangers to people's health and lives. With wind chills reaching very low temperatures, frostbite could happen fast. Exposed skin could freeze in as little as 5 to 10 minutes, even for a short time outside.
Hypothermia, which is when your body gets too cold, was also a big risk. This could happen slowly and without much warning if people did not have enough warmth or shelter. Staying warm inside was key, but this brought other dangers. Officials reminded everyone about safe heating methods. It was very important not to use cars, propane heaters, or gasoline generators inside homes or garages. These could release carbon monoxide, a gas you cannot see or smell. It is very dangerous and can kill quickly. This silent threat was a serious worry, especially if homes lost electricity and people looked for other ways to stay warm. Many deaths in previous storms were linked to this kind of poisoning. Many people needed special help during this time. Older adults, people experiencing homelessness, and those with health problems or who found it hard to move were in great danger. Cities worked hard to open warming centers in many towns and encouraged people to go there. State leaders across the affected areas, including Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, and North Carolina Governor Josh Stein, had started emergency plans days before. They told their citizens to get ready and activated important state resources. Teams of firefighters, state police, and the National Guard were deployed to help treat icy roads and respond to urgent calls. However, even with these big efforts, emergency services faced a huge and difficult task.
So many people needed help across such a wide area of the country. Public warnings were shared constantly on television and radio, but they could not reach everyone or solve every problem. The true struggle for survival was happening behind closed doors. As more ice built up on trees and power lines, many houses were rapidly losing their heat. People found themselves cut off and alone, watching their homes grow colder. How would families cope when they were stuck without power or warmth, and help might not come for hours or even days? 7. A hot planet, a cold storm. After the extreme cold arrived, many people wondered why it was happening. Chapter 3 asked if climate change made these cold snaps more common. This is a big question, and scientists do not fully agree. One idea is called Arctic amplification. This means the Arctic is getting warmer much faster than other parts of the world. Because of this, the temperature difference between the very cold Arctic and places farther south is smaller. This change makes the polar jet stream, which is a fast river of wind high in the sky, slower and weaker. When the jet stream is weaker, it can bend more easily. These large bends can let very cold air from the Arctic move far south, causing big cold storms like the one in January 2026. Some scientists, like Jennifer Francis and Stephen Vavris, talked about this idea in 2012.
They said that when Arctic sea ice melts and the Arctic warms, it can change how air moves. These changes might make the polar vortex, which usually keeps the cold air locked near the North Pole, break more often. When the polar vortex breaks or gets pushed out of shape, the very cold air can escape and move to countries like the United States. However, not all scientists are sure about this direct link. Experts from NOAA say there is evidence that supports a connection and some that does not. It is hard to know for certain. The effect of warming in the Arctic depends on exactly where and when the sea ice melts. Sometimes these losses might make atmospheric waves stronger, which can disrupt the polar vortex. Other times, they might make existing waves weaker. Also, cold weather events in the middle parts of the world happen naturally all the time due to normal weather changes. It is hard to say if these specific strong cold snaps are happening more often now because of climate change. It seems strange to have extreme cold when the planet is getting warmer overall, but this is part of the paradox. Even if overall winters are warmer, the way cold air moves can change. This can bring sudden, very cold temperatures to places not used to them. It means that while the planet gets hotter, the weather in some places can still become much colder, and it can be more extreme and harder to predict. Scientists are still studying this complex issue to find clearer answers.
While they debate the exact cause of such events, one thing is clear: our weather is becoming more extreme and unpredictable. This cold storm is a brutal symptom of a larger planetary fever. What other climate surprises are waiting for us in the near future? What we learned.
The massive Arctic cold snap of January 2026 finally ended. Slowly, the very cold air left the United States. People began to look at what had happened and what lessons could be learned. It was a time to think about the good things and the difficult things during the storm. Texas had worked hard to make its power grid better after the big freeze in 2021. This time, the grid was stronger in many places. Officials said that many power plants worked well, even in the cold. But some areas still lost power. Miles of ice-covered lines broke, leaving millions in the dark. Sadly, some people got very sick from the cold or from trying to stay warm unsafely. There were human costs that no preparation could completely prevent. Travel stopped across a wide part of the country for days. Roads were dangerous and many airports closed. This meant businesses lost money, and getting food and other goods became harder. Fixing broken power lines, burst water pipes, and damaged roads cost a lot of money, likely billions of dollars. Insurance companies started to think about what this storm meant for the future. This storm taught everyone important lessons. First, we need even stronger infrastructure. Our power lines, roads, and water systems must be able to handle extreme weather. Second, every community and family needs to be ready. Having enough food, water, flashlights, and a plan for emergencies is very important. Warming centers and help from the National Guard were very important, but they faced huge challenges. Scientists continue to study how our planet's weather is changing. This event showed that even with a warming world, we can still have very cold and dangerous storms. The future weather might be even more extreme and harder to predict. We must build communities that are resilient. This means they can stand strong against floods, heat waves, and intense cold. It is about preparing for the next surprise. The Arctic outbreak of 2026 was a harsh teacher. It reminded us that working together and being prepared are our best tools for what comes next. What do you think is the most important thing we should do to get ready for the next big storm?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.